Good day, it's the 10th of September. I was doing a job and I had to come in, big spill of rain, but I'm going out in a second. I did a very good video there on this Enoch Burke thing. It's great crack, we're knocking great mileage out of it, I'm telling you. You have to admit, on Real True Education, not fake news, there's good debate. I'd say we have the best debate of any platform in the world. We have great debate. Now, the Court of Justice in Apple. Now, I want to give you a little bit of the background. When the windmill racket started, and people object to be called them windmills, well, call them wind turbines. I would call them wind junk or whatever else. They don't work. They're a complete waste. They're a monument to the ignorance of the general body of the Irish public, and they're not the public of the world, and they're a mark of the left-wing communist LBGPQ woke. That's their symbol. And they're all in the one thing, and they're all idiots and deluded Luthermans. Idiots. Anyway, the thing about it is, that's that off my chest. The thing about it is, I have looked at them, and I've looked at the law, and if we were not in the EU, then Ireland would have its own law under the Irish Convention that have an SCA directive and all that. But we are in the EU, and we have the Strategic Environmental Assessment Directive of 2001, fully incorporated into Irish law by Statutory Instrument 436 and 437 of 2004. And if you want, I can cite them not frontways, but backways. I can go from the bottom back. That's how well I'm versed in them. In any event, one of the big kick in the asses the government got was a case. I took a case, and the Judge Max Barrett threw it out, but I couldn't go on because I needed stenographers, I needed note takers, and I had 7 barristers on me trying to take notes of, and it was too expensive. And anyway, for me to go to the High Court as a lay litigant takes up to 10-15 days. And the last time I went in on a mast here at Rara Wind Farm, I couldn't speak because they had the whole thing shut down with the pandemic, and I was on a remote Zoom, and the court shut me down. I never got addressing the court on the issue of leave. Well, I think the judge kind of said, well, he had a plan in mind to put it in as a telescoped hearing. But I couldn't get through to the court. I was denied my rights. So the treatment of me in the courts was, get the hell out of here, you ignorant farmer with cows. In any event, a number of things happened. Case C-2419 decided that the wind energy guidelines are unlawful, and we have no windmills for 2 years. And I hear there's one now coming back in Kildare, and are we going to have fun there? And there's one coming in according to the Farmers Journal down in Clare, and I'll be telling you about that. I've made my submission on the government's plan. It's out, I think, Thursday is the last day. This is Wednesday, I think. This is the last day. If you want to get on to the Department of Housing, you'll see it there, and you can make a submission up till tomorrow night. I've made one about the lack of compliance. In any event, so that's one. So that now has us caught. We can make sure we can stop any wind farm if the people have the wherewithal to go on. The second big kick they got was a case by Friends of the Irish Environment, which said all of this has to be assessed under the directive. And while they didn't go at it the way I would have done, they're still in there, and that case is pending. The number of it is C/727 of 22. C/727 of 22. The case on the wind energy guidelines is C/2419. That's a straight stroke. 2419. Anyway, the next thing was Peter Sweetman, who I had to stay my distance from him because people don't like him. But he went in on a quarry one, and they didn't comply either. And the Irish government took the view that the limit of 8 weeks from the granting of planning permission is the only limit, is the limit that applies. In other words, if you don't challenge a grant of permission by An Bord Pleanála or a refusal within 8 weeks, 56 days, you have no rights. And the High Court in this case said no. You have rights. European law you never rectify a breach of European law on the environment. And that was held in the case of Derrybrine Wind Farm. Government tried to get out of it by saying the time limit applied. It didn't apply. So anyway, Mr. Sweetman went in, and the High Court held that there's no time limit. The Court of Appeal held there's no time limit, so they threw everything behind it, and the Irish government went into the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court held there is no time limit. You can challenge them any time. So if I go in to challenge wind farm now, they cannot say I have to have it within 8 weeks. I don't have to have it. So we have that established. So that's hammering away at the criminal government we have, and the Greens and the Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and Sinn Féin are lining up to be even more corrupt than them. But anyway, Apple wasn't paying their tax here. The government had a sweetheart deal. The case went to Europe. The government's case was Apple paid a bit of tax in America, and they only had to pay a little bit, and they owed 13 billion. The Irish government says we don't want it. So there's a process in civil law where if you want to get permission to appeal to another court, you have to lodge the money. You have to lodge it in the court. So if I'm suing you, if you sue me, we'll say, for an accident, and I say you're entitled to €1,000, and I'm putting that money into the court, I give a cheque to the court, and it's in the court, and you say, no, I want to. When I'm arguing my case, I can say he has 1,000. And not only that, he has no collecting on it, it's there. And the judge can take that into account and say, well, the money's there for you, what are you looking for? You're looking for 2? Well, I don't know where you work that. You know what I mean now? You have to lodge the money. So the Apple lodged the 13 billion in some type of bonds. We're not going to that. And anyway, the Irish government, the court, the lower court, there's a second court, there's a lower court in the EU, and the lower court ruled that they didn't have to pay it. So the next thing was, the Commission appealed to the European Court of Justice, and that's the main one. That's the Grand Chamber. That's the one that ruled on case 2419, and we're awaiting the ruling on C727 of 22. Ginny Mac, is it 23? 22. Anyway, it's taken a long time. So the Chamber ruled the other day, it was all in the papers, they have to pay the tax. So there is me coming home to roost my eggs or my crows. Everything I've said about European law is right. The European Court of Justice is not the Commission. It is charged with the preservation of the treaties. And the treaty said about taxation in each member states, you can't have a sweetheart deal in one and not in another. Don't quote me on it. We don't have to get too exact. The point now is this 13 billion will be paid to the Irish government, and now they're getting ready for an election, and a big deal will be how they're going to spend it, how they're going to give it away, and of course mainly building houses for migrants. That'll be the way, but that's another day. So what I'm getting at is, I am right about the European law. It's not rocket science, it's very clearly written. And they have all this junk built, and it's all illegal. And in the submission I made, and you have another day if you get this, it'll be the 11th, I think is the last day. I'm not sure now, but I've made my submission anyway. It will be up there anyway, and I made my submission. But in that submission, I point out that if they build 50 houses in every village in Ireland, I can pull every one of them down. And while I might not want to do that, somebody else can. And it's only a matter of having the wherewithal to do it and the money. And in respect of those pylons, the North-South Interconnector, a challenge under Section 160 of the Planning and Development Act would quickly force the court to decide whether they can go ahead and build them, seeing that they didn't comply. And this case, 727 of 22, that will be another one. I think it's very slow. I'd say the European Court is a bit nervous of it, but I think they're going to rule in favour of what I want. You see, the Greens, that Eamon Cabbagehead Ryan, Roderick O'Gorman, Catherine Martin, and the other idiots, they're not capable of doing it, because the whole object of their green dream and all their dreams is that what they believe looks right to them is right, without ever any assessment. The engineers are pushed firmly out. Even in medicine, the doctors and the scientists and the epidemiologists and all these, they're pushed out. The thing about the Greens, and this is about them, they're right no matter what. No matter what. There is no professional advice or anything sought. And with the windmills that have to do the environmental report, that have to allow public participation. And one of the things I put in my submission was that if you take this it's faulty sand that caused blocks and mortar and all, that houses crumble and collapse. That's what happened mainly in Donegal, I believe. So there's a big hullabaloo with that. If there had to be an SCA done for building, anybody in that area or anybody in the country could have put in a submission and said there is a problem with a certain type of gravel or whatever, and if that is used in blocks, the houses will eventually fall and there'll be a problem politically and everything else. There's an example of how the SCA directive would have worked. Now that's 10 minutes and a half, but we're slowly gaining from the corruption of our government. There is no point pleading with them. You often hear in an election, I'll be your voice in government. You don't let me, I won't use the word because in fairness, I don't like to be ugly like that. But anyway, it's not a very nice word. They are the villains there anyway, and they are trying to bully their way, and the law is one useful way to beat them. And in the case of Harry Miller's case in England, look at how the law has set them back. And look at how the judge has identified the rascality they were at. They were trying to provide a chilling effect. And that's what they want. We have to face them down at every turn. Every turn, we have to try and beat them. But unfortunately, our own people will usually continue to vote. Imagine in Mayo, they voted for Mary Walsh. Oh, my God almighty. And they voted for Nina Carberry. What is wrong with them? Oh, she rode a horse. Oh, it is unbelievable. But that's the reality. And they've installed Keir Starmer in the UK as the Prime Minister. I think there's nearly 1,000 millionaires going. They can't stay there anymore. It'll be like the time of the Beatles. The time the Beatles were going strong, the Beatles group, they were paying 95 pence in the pound tax. 95 English pence in the pound was removed and taken in tax. That was eased up a bit. That'll tell you how much tax there was under the Labour government, so it's nothing new. And now the winter fuel allowance, we'll not go there. Okay, folks, comment underneath. Good debating. Thank you.